Good morning. It's Saturday. I'm in the office. You know what that means. A Saturday morning hustle. About to record the podcast today, all about thinking like a business owner. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to explain it to you, and I'm also going to explain why it's important and how you can do it. So, here we go. Good morning. It's Saturday. I'm in the office. You know what that means. The Saturday Morning Hustle podcast, outworking the competition while they still sleep. And today I'm talking to you about the idea of thinking like an owner even when you're not an owner, and the value of it, how you do it, and the benefit it brings to you as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as an employee, as a collaborator, or someone on your career rise. Thinking like an owner always benefits you whether you're an owner or not. So with that in mind, let me explain exactly what it is I mean by thinking like an owner. Now, I'll give you the obvious, which is the opposite. Thinking like an employee who's limited themselves to only being an employee, that type of employee that clocks in, does their job, clocks out, and goes home. There absolutely are limits to that. There are jobs in this world where that's all is required, and that is perfectly fine. But if we're going to talk about on this podcast, on the Saturday Morning Hustle, how to be more, how to be successful, how to drive, how to do something better for yourself, you always need to take ownership of what you're doing. You need to think like an owner. You need to be invested like an owner would, and you need to be almost hurt by failure like an owner would. You need to take it personal because there's motivation and there's insights there, lessons learned when you approach something as the owner, as the person in charge, the person responsible, the person who will receive the most benefit from success and receive the most negative aspirations of not being successful. Again, we don't talk about failure in this podcast because it's only a failure if you quit. There are setbacks, there are roadblocks, there are hurdles, there are things that don't go as well as planned, but there are lessons in each one of those. So again, if you set yourself up as just an employee, if you just go to work to collect a paycheck, if you clock in the minute you need to clock in, you clock out the minute you can clock out, if you have zero investment outside of doing just enough to keep from getting fired, number one, you're not a very good employee. Pick it up if that's you. But number two, there's no success path for you there. There's no learning, no growth, no development, no personal investment. There's nothing that comes from that except collecting that paycheck. So good on you. Good luck for collecting that paycheck. Good luck keeping that paycheck. But if you want to advance, if you want to be considered the best employee, if you want to be considered employee of the month, employee of the year, the first person that's going to get a promotion, if you want to be added to the leadership team as an employee, you need to think like an owner. That doesn't mean trying to be overly aggressive, taking over situations, being bossy or anything of that nature. It simply means thinking outside of the strictness of a job description and how you can be helpful, how you can add value, how you can bring more to the table. And it's not always because you're the best at something, you're the smartest at something, you have the most experience. Very often, this is one of the keys here, this is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about this today, it's about the attitude of openness, of helpfulness, of collaboration, and not trying to look for what is in it for me, not trying to work overtime to get an extra buck on your paycheck, not looking to angle for that next bonus, but simply being a great teammate, being a collaborator, not a simple employee. When you have that attitude, when you approach things in that way, when you attempt to achieve success in that manner, that success will follow you because you do things differently and you elevate the people around you. You bring everyone else up too. The worst thing that can happen is everyone having it's just a job, it's just a paycheck, it's 9 to 5, clock in, clock out attitude, that is stagnant. That it will slowly stunt your growth as an employee, as a professional in the pursuit of your career, and it will ultimately bring you to a place that isn't a good place. It's ultimately going to take you to a place that is very, very unsuccessful, the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. So continue to think of yourself as an owner, as someone who needs to do more, who wants to collaborate, who wants to be beneficial to everyone involved, who invest their time and effort outside of the 9 to 5, the work hours, the expectation, the job description, learning on your own independently, being assertive when being asked for who wants to work on something, who wants to be responsible for something, for working, communicating with your coworkers, collaborators, again, bringing other people up with you, not because you're trying to gain a bonus, but because you're trying to build a better team, because that better team is successful, ultimately is better work environment, better opportunities for everyone on the team, rising tide lifts all boats, etc. And you're going to be the person that someone's going to identify as that next person who does deserve the raise, deserves the leadership role, deserves to be kept if someone else has to be let go because of economics or something else of that nature. Being that person is a simple attitude adjustment. It's simply putting yourself in the position of the owner. What would the owner do? What does the owner need of me? What does my boss need? How can I play more of a role? How can I invest myself more? Now, you might be thinking to yourself, but wait a minute. Why am I volunteering to do more? Why do I want to put myself out this way and put myself in these situations if I'm not specifically making a bonus or some extra money or specifically angling for that next promotion? Because it develops you as an individual, as a professional, as a potential leader. When you take yourself out of that equation, when you just do the minimum, you're just trying to get by, it stunts your growth as a leader. It doesn't make you reliable for others, therefore they won't challenge you. Lack of challenge, lack of getting out of your comfort zone will keep you in the same place, will keep you stagnant, will keep you from growing. If you have the attitude opposite of doing what's necessary, what's needed, what makes sense, it's a lot of common sense, what the boss would do if they were here, what the owner would do if they were here, if you're proactive, if your attitude is open, if you're open-minded, if you're elevating others around you, if you're being a collaborator and not an employee, if you're bringing this attitude to everyone, you will be challenged. Those challenges will make you better at what you do. It will allow you to be more successful each and every time you're challenged. And instead of shying away from challenges, instead of avoiding those things, looking at it as confrontation or additional work, or simply just something you're not comfortable with, but instead looking at it as what it is, which is opportunity. Opportunity to grow, opportunity to develop, opportunity to work with new people in new ways, learn new skills, present yourself, maybe even an opportunity to prove you can do something or things that others didn't think you could or would be capable of. By doing it proactively, not being told to do and demanded to do by your boss, by your employer, assert yourself the way the owner would. You're now thinking like an owner. Thinking like an owner is proactive. It's growth, it's continual, and it creates success. The reason the person who owns the business you work at owns it, the reason that they're successful, the reason that entrepreneurs are successful, the reason that people who you look up to in the world are successful is because they think like this. They put themselves out there. They take the risk. They don't look for the immediate reward, but they look for the fulfillment of the process, the relationship building, the collaborative effort. Being of value to other people puts value on you as a person. The more you do this, the more you think of, if this was my business, how would I do it? The more effort you put into it and the more attitude you bring to it in that way changes the way people perceive you and changes the way you perceive yourself. You might be thinking to yourself, I could probably never own a business. I can't be the boss. I can't manage things. I can't be responsible for these things. You don't know yet if you haven't done it. The only way to do it is to try it in small doses, to be proactive in these ways, to think like an owner, act like an owner, do the things the owner would do. You'll be giving some of those responsibilities as you accept those responsibilities, as you take them on, as the challenges they are. You embrace them as a potential for growth. Growth creates change. The management of change is success. Do you see where I'm going here? So put yourself out there like that. Think like an owner. Put yourself up front. Do not be concerned about, well, they're getting some extra work from me. They owe me a nickel. They owe me a dime. They owe me a quarter for this. They owe me $2 for the extra work I put in. They're not paying me to sit around at home and think of better ways to do my job. I'm not going to get a bonus simply because I went above and beyond and put some extra hours in and helped other employees or brought a different idea to the table. I'm just not getting paid for that. Get your mind off what you get paid for immediately. Short money is dumb money. Think about how you can earn a position, a place in the business, a place of trust amongst those who make those decisions so they can put you in a place to earn more, to get better bonuses, to get that next promotion, not because you asked for it, not because you positioned yourself for it, not because you schemed about it, but because you've earned it by doing the work before anyone asks you to, by bringing value to the owner because you think like an owner. That is the employee that's always going to get better, is always going to get the next opportunity. Those opportunities is your potential for success. If you don't do that, you can have the same job forever, stay stagnant within yourself and within the position, and you'll end up at a dead end. If you flip the script, if you change it around, if you are proactive, if you have the better attitude, if you're always challenging yourself, if you're creating additional skill sets for yourself because you're doing things extra, if your attitude is changing, you're seeing success, you're understanding the process more because you're in it, not simply playing the minimum role, but playing the maximum role, doing the most you can. You understand it better, you can communicate it better, you can play that role better when it's necessary, when someone gets paid to do that. You can be that guy, that girl, that person because you put yourself there. Put yourself there first and get it. There's an old saying, dress for the job you want, which means if you want to be at a certain level, you need to dress that way so that people can accept you and the idea of you being in that role. This is the exact same thing. This is the same thing as dress for the job you want. Think, act, and be the job you want. Be the boss. Be the owner. Think like them. Be proactive. Be bigger in your role, and then eventually your role can be bigger. It all starts with you, and it starts with the two things you have control over. We've talked about it on this podcast a lot, but we're going to go back to that. The two elements that you have complete control over in the world is your attitude and your effort. Both of those things relate back to the idea of thinking like an owner. Have an attitude like the owner. Have an attitude like the boss. Have an attitude like a winner, someone who can be successful and you will be successful. Then put the effort in like the owner, like the boss, like the person whose job you want to have. Put yourself in that place, put that effort in with that attitude, and the path to get there will present itself. It's just that easy. It's inside of you. Effort, attitude, go for it, make yourself valuable. The people who need those people in those positions, they need people they can trust, they need people they can value, they need people who get it and understand it the way they do, will find you the most attractive candidate to be in that role. It just works every time. Now, the flip side, if you're an owner, you're already thinking like this. If you're an entrepreneur, you're already thinking like this. But of course, you need other people in your team. You need collaboration. You need partners. You need people who will step up to the plate. And this is how you ID them. Obviously, there's skills and talent and all kinds of things that go into the evaluation of an employee. The attitude and the effort of an employee who acts and thinks like an owner, like you would, makes them that person you can put in charge when you're not there, that you can depend on when you're not available, that can play the role you need them to play because they think that way. The employee who isn't looking for the nickel and dime short money, but is investing themselves in the success of the business, the success of your business, the success of your operation, the ultimate success for you, you should reward with that elevation, more opportunity, more responsibility, of course, eventually more pay and all of the good things that coming with taking that responsibility on. These are things that you need to look for as to who you elevate in your organization. Skills and attitude and everything else is fantastic, but thinking like an owner, putting themselves in your shoes and doing it for your benefit should equal the first opportunity you can to reward them for that effort. So if you're the employee, think like the owner, act like the owner. If you're the owner, look for employees who do the same. Ultimately, no matter who you are and what role you fill, there's always a next level. There's always a next role to fill. There's always more that you can do. First, believe you can do it. Understand within yourself that the only thing to do is to try, to start. No one got mad at someone for trying too hard. Even if you don't know how to do it, even if ultimately the work you do isn't that successful, it's better than not doing it. So trying, whether it goes well or if it doesn't, you'll learn lessons, you'll develop skills, you'll know the next time how to do it better, and the next time better after that, and the next time better after that. Eventually you can master that skill, but you have to start the first time. So think about how you can do it. Don't let yourself hold you back. With the right attitude, put yourself forward, create those opportunities so you can control your attitude and you can control your effort. Do these things. Do not let yourself hold you back. Do not let others who are not the boss, not the owner, not the person who's going to give you the raise, the promotion, the opportunity in the future, but people who are on your level or even below, don't let them hold you back. Don't let a boss who doesn't want you to surpass them hold you back. Put that effort in, show your value, demonstrate that value, make it obvious you're the best person to be put in charge, to have responsibility, to have opportunity. You're going to manage that opportunity as well as anyone. Then you will receive that opportunity. Put yourself out there, think you can, then do it. It won't happen overnight, so be consistent, continue to do it. Continue to develop skill sets, attitudes, and aptitudes of owners and bosses so that you can become a boss, you can become an owner, or you might just skip out on all of this and go do your own thing, but you would understand the thought process. If you pay attention, especially to good bosses, you can learn lessons on how to do things. You can learn from bad bosses how not to do things. Watch successful people. Understand how they make their decisions, understand the effort they put in and why, then replicate that, do the same thing, understand it from the inside out, and now you're in the path to success, the most potential for opportunity for you. That's the lesson today on the Saturday Morning Hustle podcast. So check it out. We're here each and every Saturday, of course. Outworking the competition. Will they still sleep? Because we're hustlers and grinders and appreciate it like that. Tell a friend. Make sure you subscribe. Leave us a review. Hit that thumbs up. Hit the heart button. Hit the like. Whatever it is, on whatever platform you found this podcast on. Appreciate you very much. Tell a friend. iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, the Anchor app, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, anywhere you find great podcasts. Full video is on YouTube. We'll be back again next Saturday. Is it Saturday? We're in the office, outworking the competition. Will they still sleep? Saturday Morning Hustle. See you next week.
Saturday Morning Hustle.